Yesterday, we have finished reading this sutta called the Ancient City, where the Buddha gave a simile when someone discovered a city with inhabited by people in the past with parks, groves, ponds, and ramparts, and delightful place. And then he informed the king. And the city will become successful and prosperous. In the same way, the Buddha discovered the same ancient path, and then the Buddha explained to the monks, the nuns, the lay followers, the female lay followers, that this spiritual life has become successful and prosperous. Today, we are going to read this sutta, the decision to teach. Bhikkhu Bodhi abridged it. He directly starts from number 19. I consider this Dhamma that I have attained is profound, hard to see, and hard to understand, peaceful and sublime, unattainable by mere reasoning, subtle, to be experienced by the wise. But this population delights in attachment, takes delight in attachment, rejoices in attachment. It is hard for such a population to see this truth, namely specific conditionality, dependent origination. And it is hard to see this truth, namely the stealing of all formations, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nibbana. If I were to teach the Dhamma, others would not understand me, and that would be wearing and troublesome for me. Thereupon, there came to me spontaneously these stanzas never heard before. Enough with teaching the Dhamma. That even I found hard to reach, for it will never be perceived by those who live in lust and hate. Those died in lust, wrapped in darkness, will never discern this abstruse Dhamma, which goes against the worldly stream, subtle, deep, and difficult to see. Considering thus, my mind inclined to inaction rather than to teaching the Dhamma. Okay, so this is the context. The Buddha thinks that the Dhamma is difficult to understand. So difficult to teach. Okay, let's take a look at footnotes number 24. 24 says, alaya. The word signifies both the objects of clinging and the subjective attitude of clinging. Interesting, because the word alaya last time, I think Shifu, when he created the website, I recall he mentioned it was a storehouse, so probably the other definition of alaya. Number 25. Okay, this is long footnotes. By mentioning these two themes, dependent origination and nibbana, in his reflections immediately after his enlightenment, the Buddha underscores the importance for understanding the content of his enlightenment. The enlightenment thus involves a comprehension, first, of the dependent origination of suffering, and second, of nibbana as the state of ultimate liberation that transcends all phenomena involved in the dependent origination of suffering. The Buddha first had to comprehend dependent origination, and only when he had done so could he arrive at the realization of Nibbana. The acquisitions to Pali, they are relinquished, can be understood as twofold. In terms of the object, as the five aggregates, or more broadly, as all objects of appropriation, and subjectively as the craving that motivates acts of appropriation. So the relinquishing refer to this line. And this line you can also see is also happening, it's still happening in today's context. If I were to teach the Dharma, others would not understand me, and that would be wearing and troublesome for me. In this way, I'm really thankful for all those venerables who really dedicate their time to teach the Dharma. And even though they know it's wearing and troublesome, they still allocate and spend their time to teach. A lot of us. Okay, I'm curious about this word, abstruse. We'll never discern this abstruse Dharma. Okay, abstruse here means difficult to understand, obscure. And then one more footnote, 26. P.S. The commentary raises the question, why, when the Bodhisattva had long ago made an aspiration to attain Buddhahood in order to liberate others, his mind now inclined towards inaction. The reason, the commentary says, is that only now, after becoming enlightened, did he recognize how profound the Dharma was and how difficult it would be for those with strong defilements to understand it. Also, he wanted Brahma to ask him to teach so that people who venerate Brahma would respect the Dharma and wish to hear it. So that will be in the following paragraphs. Let's see, number 20, Sister Lin Toy, what should I to read?
Then monks, the Brahma Sahampati knew with his mind the thought in my mind, and he considered, the world will be lost, the world will perish, since the mind of the Tathagata, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one, inclines to inaction rather than to teaching the Dhamma. Then, just as quickly as a strong man might extend his flexed arm or flex his extended arm, the Brahma Sahampati vanished in the Brahma world and appeared before me. He arranged his upper robe on one shoulder and extending his hands in reverential salutation toward me, said, Venerable Sir, let the Blessed One teach the Dhamma. Let the Sublime One teach the Dhamma. There are beings with little dust in their eyes who are perishing through not hearing the Dhamma. There will be those who will understand the Dhamma. The Brahma Sahampati spoke thus, and then he said further, in Magadha there have appeared till now impure teachings devised by those still stand. Open the doors to the deathless, let them hear. The Dhamma that the stainless one has found, just as one who stands on a mountain peak can see below the people all around. So, O wise one, all-seeing sage, ascend the palace of the Dhamma. Let the sorrowless one survey this human breed, engulfed in sorrow, overcome by birth and old age. Arise, victorious hero, caravan leader, deathless one, and wander in the world. Let the blessed one teach the Dhamma. There will be those who will understand.
Okay, thanks, Sister Lin Toy. This is the part where the Brahma Sahampati invites the Buddha to teach the world. If not, the Buddha, he says, the world will be lost, the world will perish. If the Tathagata inclines to inaction rather than to teaching the Dhamma. Last time Shifu told me this is why we formally invite Venerable to give a Dhamma talks to emulate these traditions of inviting someone to teach the Dhamma. And then Shifu says, one day, maybe we are become the Brahma Sahampati, and then we saw an enlightened one. Oh, he's inclined to inaction. And then it is our duty to go down and invite him to teach the world. Okay, let's continue with number 21. Sister Saiken, would you like to read?
21. Then I listened to the Brahma's pleading, and out of compassion for beings, I surveyed the world with the eye of a Buddha. Surveying the world with the eye of a Buddha, I saw beings with little dust in their eyes, and with much dust in their eyes, with keen faculties and with dull faculties, with good qualities and with bad qualities, easy to teach and hard to teach, and some who dwelt seeing fear and blame in the other world. Just as in a pond of blue or red or white lotuses, some lotuses that are born and grow in the water thrive immersed in the water without rising out of it, and some other lotuses that are born and grow in the water rest on the water's surface, and some other lotuses that are born and grow in the water rise out of the water and stand clear, unwetted by it. So too, surveying the world with the eye of a Buddha, I saw beings with little dust in their eyes and with much dust in their eyes, with keen faculties and with dull faculties, with good qualities and with bad qualities, easy to teach and hard to teach, and some who dwelt seeing fear and blame in the other world. Then I replied to the Brahma Sahampati in stanzas. Open for them are the doors to the deathless. Let those with ears now show their faith. Thinking it would be troublesome, O Brahma, I did not speak the Dhamma, subtle and sublime. Then the Brahma Sahampati thought, the Blessed One has consented to my request that he teach the Dhamma. And after paying homage to me, keeping me on the right, he thereupon departed at once.
Okay, thanks, Sister Saiken. Now, the third part, finally, after the Brahma Sahampati invites the Buddha to teach. Now the Buddha himself surveyed the world with the eye of the Buddha. He saw both beings with little dust in the eyes and also much dust in the eyes. Which one are we? Do we have little dust or much eyes? Much dust? Each individual is different. Different amount of dust. But I would say at least, we every morning we read and listen to the Dhamma. I think that's a pretty good start compared to you see the world. Not many people actually encounter and willing to listen to the Dhamma. So not too bad. So here the Buddha surveys the world and then he sees from himself. There are indeed some beings who who are able to discern, understand the Dhamma. This line, open for them are the doors to the desolate. Let those with ears now show their faith. As if others don't have ears, but this is a metaphor. A lot of people have ears, but they don't listen. Okay. Then the Brahma Sahampati thought, the Blessed One has consented to my request that he teach the Dhamma. After paying homage to me, keeping me on the right, he thereupon departed at once. Okay, this one, the Brahma Sahampati paying homage to the Buddha, not the other way around. And then finally, he leaves. He skedaddled. Okay, next paragraph is the Choi-Kwan. Would you like to read?
(22) I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Alara Kalama is wise, intelligent and discerning. He has long had little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to Alara Kalama, he will understand it quickly. Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, Alara Kalama died 7 days ago, and the knowledge and vision arose in me. Alara Kalama died 7 days ago. I thought, Alara Kalama's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Choi-Kwan. The next one, Sister Shomi, would you like to read? Wait, let me unmute you.
I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Udaka Puja is wise, intelligent and discerning. He has long had little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to Udaka Puja. He will understand it quickly. Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, Udaka Puja died last night, and the knowledge and vision rose in me. Udaka Puja died last night. I thought, Udaka Puja's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly. I considered, sorry.
Thanks, Sister Shomi. So the first two that the Buddha thought of were his former teachers. And unfortunately, the first one, Alara Kalama, passed away 7 days just before the Buddha's enlightenment. And the second one, Udaka Ramaputa, passed away just 1 night before the Buddha's enlightenment. How great of a loss is their death. And if only the Buddha reached enlightenment like 2 weeks beforehand, maybe the Buddha can bring these two towards enlightenment. So if we waste like just a day of practice, maybe we would have not saved one more person towards liberation. So we have to have a sense of urgency so that we can save more. Okay, number 24, Brother Waken, would you like to read?
I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, the monks of the group of 5 who attended upon me while I was engaged in my striving were very helpful. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to them. Then I thought, where are the monks of the group of 5 now living? And with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I saw that they were living at Varanasi in the deer park at Isipatana.
Thanks, Brother Wing. Let's take a look at footnote number 27. These 5 monks attended on the Bodhisattva during his period of self-mortification, convinced that he will attain enlightenment and teach them the Dharma. However, when he abandoned his austerities and resumed taking solid food, they lost faith in him and deserted him, accusing him of reverting to luxury. See this text which we have read previously. Chapter 2, section 3.2. With that, any questions or comments so far?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting account. Like, this is to me, this is a very interesting account of the Buddha's motivations and like how precious the Dhamma is. I think you made a few good comments already, like the urgency of the Dhamma, right? Requesting, making a formal request to teachers to teach, to emulate that tradition. So all of that are interesting comments already. For me, the fact that the Buddha, states the reason for his teaching, for his intention to teach, is important for us to consider. The reason this Dhamma is being taught is, again, it's not just because we want to learn. It's not just because like there is a formal request or there's a request from Brahma Sahampati and so on. The most fundamental reason that this Dhamma is being taught is the one stated explicitly by the Buddha, right? That there are beings with little dust in their eyes. There are beings who will be lost and will perish without the Dhamma. That is the reason why the Buddha taught. So it's important for us to realize like why the Buddha did begin to teach. And that reason also gives us the motivation and the courage to go share the Dhamma. Right? If often we are quite sometimes quite demotivated or quite scared to share the Dhamma. We're scared lah. People say people talk, people might feel offended, or people might insult us, or people might oppose our kind intentions and so on, right? With all these different fears. But the Buddha has assured us there are beings with little dust in their eyes. And therefore, we should proclaim his message with boldness. Of course, there are people with much dust in their eyes. Okay, so there are people who are going to oppose us, and that's fine, because we are doing this for the sake of those who would realize the Dhamma, and that's the importance. So, like to me, the reason that is stated by the Buddha, that's important, and we should bear that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. And to add on one more point about teaching the Dhamma, I was afraid. It's also because I was afraid to, if I teach the wrong thing, then it will have severe consequences. So that's why I think by reading a book by a qualified teacher like this, I think it's safer because we can assure of the content and the quality. Very good one. Thanks, Waken. Anyone else would like to share comments? If not, let's do a dedication. 愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了。普愿罪障悉消除，时时常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a dustless Wednesday ahead.